We're taught from a young age what good looks like. It's kind, it's selfless, it's pure. In the world of Oz, it's blonde, it's bubbly, and it travels in a literal bubble of light. For decades, Glinda the Good has been the undisputed heroine in the public imagination. She is the light to Elphaba's darkness, the accepted to her outcast. The entire narrative of Wicked seems to hinge on this simple binary. One was born wicked, and the other had wickedness thrust upon her. But I want to challenge that, because the more I watch, read, and think about Wicked, the more I'm convinced that the story isn't about how Elphaba became the Wicked Witch of the West. It's about how Glinda Upland became Glinda the Good. And that journey, I would argue, is far more insidious. Elphaba's story is a tragedy of circumstance. Glinda's is a tragedy of choice. Today, we're putting goodness on trial. We're going to unpack the choices, the compromises, and the quiet acts of moral cowardice that built the gilded cage of Glinda the Good. Because her story is a chillingly relevant warning about how easily we can mistake popularity for principle, and how the pursuit of being seen as good can become the most wicked act of all. Chapter 2: The Popularity Project. When we meet Glinda at Shiz University, her moral compass points in one direction, toward the top of the social ladder. Her world is defined by surfaces, perfect hair, the right shoes, the adoration of her peers. She isn't inherently evil. She is, however, fundamentally shallow. Her kindness is a currency she spends on those who can offer a social return on her investment. And then Elphaba enters the scene. Not just different, but a living, breathing challenge to the very idea of conformity that Glinda's world is built on. And what is Glinda's first impulse? Not curiosity, not empathy, but cruelty. The prank with the pointy hat is more than just a mean-spirited joke. It's an act of social policing. It's a way of saying, you do not belong, and we will punish you until you either conform or disappear. Their supposed bonding moment, the makeover in Popular, is often seen as the turning point where Glinda's heart opens. But I see it differently. It's not an act of friendship. It's an act of colonization. She never once tries to understand Elphaba on Elphaba's terms. Instead, she sees her as a project. Her goal is to sand down Elphaba's rough edges, to make her palatable, to teach her how to fit into a system that is already crushing her. She sings, "When I see depressing creatures with unprepossessing features, I remind them on their own behalf to think of celebrated heads of state or specially great communicators." She's not offering solidarity, she's offering a guide to assimilation. This isn't about making the world a better place for Elphaba. It's about making Elphaba better for the world. And this is her first, and perhaps greatest, moral failure. The belief that acceptance is something to be earned through conformity, rather than given unconditionally. Chapter 3: The Politics of Apathy. As the story moves to the Emerald City, the political undertones become impossible to ignore. Oz is a society on the brink of fascism, and the animals are its first target. Dr. Dillamond, their professor, a respected goat, is losing his ability to speak. A fundamental part of his identity is being legislated out of existence. Elphaba, who knows what it's like to be an outcast, is ignited by this injustice. Her morality is forged in the fire of her own marginalization. She sees the suffering of the animals as an extension of her own. And Glinda? She's sad about it. She finds it dreadful. But her sympathy is passive. It's the comfortable sadness of the privileged bystander, the person who feels bad about injustice but isn't willing to sacrifice anything to stop it. To challenge the system would mean risking her reputation, her comfort, her carefully constructed world. So she doesn't. She chooses apathy. This culminates in the story's central turning point, the meeting with the wizard. He is revealed to be a fraud, a man with no real power who's manufacturing a crisis, the oppression of the animals, to maintain his grip on Oz. He offers them a deal. Join him, and they can have everything they've ever wanted. Elphaba, faced with this ultimate test of character, makes her choice. She refuses to be a tool of oppression. She chooses to defy gravity, to break away from the system, knowing full well it will brand her as an enemy of the state. Glinda is presented with the very same choice, and her decision defines her. She stays. She chooses the palace, the title, the adoration of the crowd. She makes a pact with the corrupt power she knows is wrong, because the alternative is too terrifying. The alternative is being unpopular. The alternative is being, in the eyes of Oz, like elphaba. She doesn't just allow tyranny to flourish, she agrees to become its beautiful, smiling, public relations agent. Chapter 4: The High Priestess of Propaganda. After Elphaba's flight, Glinda's role solidifies. She's crowned Glinda the Good, not because of any specific moral act, but because the regime needs a symbol. They need a face that the people can trust, a story that will make their fascist policies palatable. And Glinda willingly plays the part. Her entire public life becomes an act of propaganda. She calms the citizens, reassures them, and in doing so, becomes the primary vehicle for the demonization of her best friend. She constructs the narrative of the Wicked Witch of the West to protect herself and the power structure she has chosen to serve. Think about the language she uses. She tells the people what they want to hear, that goodness is simple, that evil is obvious, and that she is there to protect them from it. It's a masterclass in manipulation. She takes the complex, nuanced reality of her relationship with Elphaba and flattens it into a simple good versus evil narrative that serves the state. This is the most frightening aspect of Glinda's character. She embodies the banality of evil. Evil isn't always a cackling villain. Sometimes it's a smiling, well-meaning person who chooses to amplify lies for personal gain. She is the embodiment of performative virtue. She perfects the aesthetic of goodness, the wave, the smile, the glittering gown, while actively enabling a system that persecutes minorities and hunts her friend. Her goodness is a brand, and that brand is built on a foundation of lies.
But propaganda is a hungry beast, and eventually, it demands more than just stories. It demands sacrifice. And this is where Glinda's journey moves from passive complicity to active, catastrophic betrayal. Chapter 5: The Cost of a Clear Conscience. In the second half of the story, Wicked for Good, we see Glinda trying to have it both ways. She enjoys the power and adoration that comes with her new role, but she's also tormented by her conscience. She wants to stop the witch hunt, but she wants to do it without getting her hands dirty. Her solution is to orchestrate a trap. She suggests to Madame Morrible that they can lure Elphaba out of hiding by spreading a rumor that her sister, Nessarose, is in danger. In Glinda's mind, this is a brilliant political move. She can capture Elphaba, end the conflict, and perhaps even save her friend from herself. It is the ultimate act of privileged liberal centrism, trying to manage and control a revolution from a position of comfort without ever understanding the stakes for those on the front lines. And the result is an absolute disaster. The plan backfires, leading directly to the death of Nessarose, and when Fiyero, the man Glinda claims to love, witnesses the regime's cruelty firsthand, he makes his choice. He abandons Glinda, power, and his position to stand with Elphaba. In response, the wizard's guards capture him and torture him, leaving him for dead in a field where he is transformed into the Scarecrow. This is the moment Glinda's manufactured world shatters. Her attempt to control the narrative, to play both sides, resulted in the death of one sister and the brutal transformation of the man she loved. She learns the hard way that you cannot reason with fascism. You cannot manage a system of oppression from within its halls of power. By trying to avoid a difficult choice, she ended up causing irreparable harm. Chapter 6: Atonement in the Bubble. The climax of the story is Glinda's final and most profound act of betrayal. With elphaba cornered and the mob closing in, Glinda is the one who tells the guards that the Wicked Witch can be destroyed by water. She does this believing it's the only way to save elphaba from a more violent death, to give her a quick end. It is once again an act born of a twisted, self-serving logic, a mercy killing that allows her to maintain her position as the good one who ended the threat. After elphaba melts, Glinda is finally alone with the consequences of her choices. She has the adoration of Oz, but she has lost everything that ever truly mattered to her. And it is only in this moment of total loss that she finds the courage she lacked her entire life. She confronts the wizard, exposing him as a fraud and banishing him from Oz. She imprisons Madame Warrible, the true source of the evil that plagued the land. She finally uses her power not for popularity, but for justice. But it's a hollow victory. Her final act is a promise to elphaba's memory. She will live up to the title they gave her. She will become, for real, Glinda the Good. But this isn't a reward, it's a life sentence. She is now trapped in the very bubble she created, forced to live a lie, forever separated from the only person who saw her true, flawed self and loved her anyway. She must carry the weight of the truth alone, smiling and waving for the rest of her days. Conclusion. So how good is Glinda really? She is a mirror, reflecting the seductive comfort of complicity. Her journey is a chilling exploration of how a desire for acceptance can curdle into a defense of the indefensible. She is a case study in how inaction is an action, and how the pursuit of a quiet life can make you an accomplice to the loudest of evils. She isn't a simple villain. She's far more complex and far more terrifying than that. She is the friend who stands by, the citizen who looks away, the leader who compromises with tyranny for the sake of order. She is a good person who does wicked things, not out of malice, but out of a desperate human desire to be loved and to be safe. And that is the enduring, haunting power of her story. It reminds us that the opposite of courage isn't always wickedness, but often it is comfort. And it forces us to ask ourselves, when the time comes, which will we choose? Thank you for watching, and until next time, try to be genuinely good. It's harder than it looks.